It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word.
We on a mission and that's bringing y'all the truth. You know the problem, but we get into the root. The devil watching, yeah, he always on pursuit. But Jesus is our rock, so we shall not be moved. We on a winning team, so we can't lose. We say facts, cause we hitting y'all with proof. Started from the bottom, now we standing on the roof. As God as our witness, we gon' make it to the moon. When you want the truth, the world be hiding it. This the real word, we providing it. We got Ace, BK, Truth, Rick Star, and we plan to make a movie like it's Pixar. We came a long way from the plantation. We just tryna save your souls from damnation. So if you down with the message, tune in every week. It will lead you to the message that you seek.
It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word.
Welcome to the Real Word Season 8, Episode 9. Shout out to everybody who's been watching. Shout out to everybody who's been supporting. Shout out to everybody that's helped us to get this far so far. Shout out to everybody that came out to the gala last night. Shout out to the whole MIPO, a Haitian organization gala. Shout out to everybody that has been helping us in the community and helping to grow the community. I'm here with my co-host. Introduce yourself.
You already know it's the one and only Ace Irving. Add me on Instagram, Ace Irving 11. If you ain't know 11, bag me, you know.
The regular.
Yeah, I need some water. Stay hydrated. It's summertime out here.
That's true.
Alright.
Yeah.
I'm here with my other co-host. Introduce yourself.
Hey, it's Kimmel Hall, you know. What is it called? The BK Hallways, the Instagram. You know, I'm not doing much on it yet, but we're gonna turn up for the summer. I have a feeling it's gonna be a good summer. It's gonna be exciting.
All right. And we got two special guests with us here today. Tell the people your name and where you from.
Which one first?
Hi, my name is Silke. I'm German and I live in New York, Spain, and I'm a coach and a healer.
Oh wow.
German.
All the way from Germany or all the way from Spain?
Well, German living in Spain.
Okay, all the way from Spain.
Oh, you
So,
Spain
shout to Spain, shout to Germany.
Yeah.
We international, baby.
We expand your life.
Technology, right?
We expand your life.
All right. We got one more special guest. Introduce yourself.
She got a nice view too.
Hi, my name is Julianne, and I'm calling in from Sarasota, Florida.
Oh wow, Florida. Okay. So we got Spain and we got Florida in the house. Yeah. So shout out to everybody who's been watching. Shout out to everybody that follow us on Instagram at The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Instagram, The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Instagram. Shout out to everybody that subscribe to our YouTube. That's youtube.com/The Real Word TV. That's The Real Word TV, one word on YouTube. Also check us out on podcasts at Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud, and Pandora. You can also watch us on the Brick Network every Tuesday and Thursday. Go on YouTube and vote for us for the People Choice Award for the Brick Network Award Show. Go and vote for us. Just type in The Real Word TV in Google or put The Real Word TV into YouTube and vote for us. We have 2 episodes on there, The Black Matter, and I forget the other episode. But check us out and vote us for this award show coming up, I believe, next month. So shout out to y'all.
Hey, I'm going on there.
We gonna win that award.
I mean, it's more entertaining, right?
We got the star red all over it.
So ladies, tell us about yourself. Who wants to start?
Tell us the real.
I'll start. My name is Julianne Bosch, and I wrote a book called How a Mother Took Her First Step on the Moon.
Ooh.
And because I am a life and career coach, I wanted to help parents be more intentional. So it is a book that gives a piece of advice, and it asks you to journal questions so that you can help your kids in the world a little bit. Because right now there's so much chaos with the pandemic and war and things that are happening that I just wanted
shootings.
to
True.
A lot of shootings.
help them be be trailblazers for their kids so that they have somewhere to follow.
Set up the blueprint.
Yeah. So what was your inspiration for writing this book? Your kids?
Well, I was turning 50. And I have all 3 of my kids heading off into the world, and I was dreading it, and I flipped the switch and I said, what could I do so that they have no questions if I was not here on the earth? And I'm hoping that it helps another mother or another father or another aunt or uncle, that if they're struggling, they can look at it and not follow my advice, but use it and create it to the best that they need it. And you know, you can borrow pieces of advice from people and then put it together what works for you, because you know, your neighborhood may be different than my neighborhood, or the way you want to serve your dinner. If you don't come together and sit to dinner at night, you can do it for breakfast. I don't know, but it's ways to kind of document it and put it into the book so that you're helping your kids navigate all of this craziness that's going on in the world. So that's how I started it.
Wow.
I like the plan.
The real question that we all want to know is, how did you get that green screen to look so good?
Well,
We already asked.
Because that view look too good.
Beach, I love running on it, walking on it. So I just thought, you know what better way to invite you into my living room? I wish this was my living room.
I hear that.
This is the
I wish
dream,
that was
right?
my living room too.
With technology, I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm there.
I wish you were. I can bring you over to tea. I got the coffee right there.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
I'm a tea guy. I'm a tea guy.
She looked like the actual person.
I want like a
that's
tea
in
bag.
Spain right
Oh wow.
now. She looked like she was
This is comedy.
Yeah.
Silky, I'm gonna call you Silky, that's fine?
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Silke, but I like
Silken.
It's nice and soft.
Yeah,
Okay.
Silky.
So
Yeah.
my name is Silke Maria Haas. I'm a healer and a coach, and I actually also deal with crazy situations because I've been helping people for over 20 years with problems in their health, in their relationships, with any sort of things, particularly also with parents and children. And it's all about how not to go crazy. So my coaching system is
We need her.
crazy healing, because it's using the crazy situations that is the problem to reclaim your inherent wholeness.
Yes.
You know how we could link both of them together, right? So, Julianne was going through what they call empty nest syndrome, right? Like when your kids leave the home, and that could drive you crazy because you're so used to getting up in the morning, getting yourself ready, getting the child ready or children ready, getting them out the door, dropping them off at school, going to work, coming home, getting them ready, putting them to bed, and then trying to live your little life in between all that madness. And then when they're gone, it's like, damn, you walk into the empty house. It's like
Boring.
So it's like you gotta find something spicy to do, and it's like to stop yourself from going crazy. And in a sense, it's like a lot of people started doing a lot of things differently during the corona, so during the pandemic and lockdown, so they wouldn't go crazy. So what's some things you ladies did so you wouldn't go crazy?
Oh, were these projects like started because of Corona?
Yeah.
Yeah, let them tell us what you guys did so you wouldn't go crazy.
You want to go first?
Yeah, for me, it's very much about an attitude, about accepting the things you cannot change, and then focus a lot of energy into changing the things you can change, and accepting, being balanced with what you cannot change. And that's, so I have my mission, so in a way, I'm having an empty nest too, and I just feel I'm living a fulfilled life because my child is my mission to help a lot of people to be happy and healthy and more fulfilled.
Respect.
And you want to hear something?
I'm very crazy.
I mixed it up a little bit because I said, if I was given a situation where, because we were losing a lot of people, unfortunately I had my mother-in-law pass away and some friends that got COVID, and I changed it up. I created moments in the chaos that, for for example, I did Zoom parties. I got a mariachi band and I got it to go across the street for an 80th lady's birthday.
Nice.
I did crazy ass stuff.
Of course, you in Florida. The craziest people come from Bronx in Florida.
They said Florida was loose.
No wonder my daughter's moving to New York. Give some up to you a little bit. But I decided to.
It's like home for her.
What I could control, and so it was about people, and I decided that I wanted to embrace them more. You know, you get caught up in this hamster wheel of life and you're trying to solve all these things, and sometimes there is no solution. So for me, I just said I want to enrich people's life while I can. I don't know, we may not have tomorrow, and so I wrote letters to people. When did you write a letter the last time? It's been a long time, I'm sure. So I put a stamp on it and I could pop it in the mail. And people, like, I sent out 22 Mother's Day cards to people that some weren't even mothers. And I just said, because you're an awesome woman and I know you inspire people. So for me, it created calm to put some good back into the world.
I can relate to that. For Mother's Day, well, the first year of COVID, I drove around and I just gave mother's gifts to people I knew mothers, like, you know, in a sense of my own mom was I sent her away to Spa Castle with my wife, and I went to surprise a couple mothers with some flowers, just something simple. But that was 2020.
You creating those memories,
yeah,
it changed them. I mean, I have people coming back to me like, why'd you send me that? Why'd you do that? I think the more you put yourself out there and the more you take that first step. That's why I wrote How a Mother Took Her First Step on the Moon, because you have fear. Like, are people going to think I'm weird, or are they going to...
What are you doing?
They're going to wonder, you know, why I'm being so nice, because we're not prone to being nice. And
especially
okay.
now that
I want to be nice, but I want to change things for the better, because I don't know, maybe I'm not here tomorrow. And when people look at me and they say, hey, you know, she wrote a crazy book to help me talk about integrity and what it means to really tell your kids that sometimes things are tough and you gotta be a pain in the butt and hard on them and say, yeah, you didn't do your homework, you lied to me, or you didn't do something, then you gotta pay the consequence. But at the same time, you know,
she got a New York attitude.
a lot of
like, are you listening?
You hear what I said?
But I
Go to
think
your room.
change it up a little bit. I had a friend of mine told me, because of what I did, she started playing pranks on her kids. So she would freeze the milk in her kids' cereal and serve them like frozen Cheerios with frozen milk, and they would just start laughing so hard because they couldn't go anywhere.
What a surprise.
That's child abuse.
So,
Starving kids, no breakfast. And breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And this is how they gotta start their day. Like this.
That's cool.
They're like, we expected better from you, Mom.
yeah, but then your kids don't know what to expect sometimes. Because if the world's chaotic and your mom and your inside your home is calm and fun, and that's where you come for your safety and your peace. And so I think it's important that your kids know that home is where the sanctuary is. And you know, How a Mother Took Her First Step on the Moon for me was a way to help my kids kind of navigate the world a little bit.
Speaking of a world view, right? We have Silka. She's from Germany and she's living in Spain. So tell us about the different cultures and how that has impacted your world view.
Yeah, it's interesting because even though I've been living here for more than 20 years, I mean, you're still a foreigner and you're in a place where there's a lot of coming and going, and I often feel very ashamed of my home country and culture when I see how some of my compatriots behave here.
We can relate in New
What do you
York.
mean?
Drinking and just behavior.
Okay.
But I also feel I'm blessed because you constantly adjust and you constantly need to reflect yourself in this context of so many different cultures coming here. And I think, in a way, we're in a paradise, because I still feel, even though there's a lot of coming and going and a lot of cultures, it's still possible to live together and integrate and exchange. And I change languages every hour when I'm with clients, so I have this constant stimulation and constant possibility to reflect myself and getting to know people in different ways.
Oh, you blend into New York perfectly fine.
How many languages do you know?
I'm fluent in German, English, and Spanish. I'm trying my best with Japanese and Italian and French, but I wouldn't call myself proficient in those.
Oh, wow. And did you learn all these languages for work, or you learned it on your own for recreational purposes?
Well, I always liked languages, but obviously I'm born in Germany, then I studied in England, and then I moved to Spain, so it
Those
was
three was fluid, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We're from New York, Brooklyn. I don't know if you ever heard of it. But yeah.
I realize my English is limited because I'm very British. And I realized, I could do with spending some time in New York to get a bit more of a range of vocabulary.
Yeah.
You get a lot of culture.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, in New York, there is a lot of cultures. Like, some people call it the melting pot of the world. And they also have, like, sectioned off different parts of New York. You know, might have Chinatown, Little Italy, different parts of everywhere. And is it like that overseas as well? Or as in, like, are there different cultures and different communities for the different people that live there in Spain that you live now?
I would say so. The different provinces have different energies, and different parts of the islands have also different energies. But I think compared to where you live, it's not as condensed because there are not so many people living together.
Yeah.
Classes opens everywhere.
There's not much rough scoundrels, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I live in the countryside, so here in this community where I live, there is 4 or 5 different countries living together.
Oh, it's like country, like farm, or not really?
Yeah, I'm living on a farm with Canadian, Scottish, American, Hebrew, German.
So you grow your fruit.
And Spanish, so.
Wow.
That's cool. I respect that.
And what about you? Do you live in like a city area, or do you live in a more so rural area?
Well, because of my husband's job, we've been married 28 years, and I moved 13 times. And so I lived in Japan, I lived in Mexico, I lived in Ireland, and I picked Sarasota, Florida because he originally wanted to be in Tampa, but I came a little bit more south because in Sarasota there is a mix of a lot of different cultures. It's not quite New York, but like my neighbors are Japanese, and I have a German friend neighbor, and so there's maybe 5 or 6 different nationalities that live around me besides the people from Sarasota, Florida that are, you have Cubans, you have Puerto Ricans, you have, every single
diverse
melting pot, but on a smaller scale compared to New York. But I love that because I like to be sitting there, and my husband's from Barcelona, Spain, so I also speak Spanish. And so for me to kind of mix between that, it's comforting. And I like to go and try, something on one day, and then the next day go and, try some German food. It's not as, really great as New York. You guys have these pockets of areas that you can have, the best Italian food or the best, Korean food or the best, I don't know, whatever. But, I think we have it on a smaller scale here.
So both of you went to Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
She's on the islands, a little bit more exotic, I would say. My husband's from a little bit north of Barcelona in a little town called Calella, but it has this view, so it's similar.
It's meant to be.
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
And another thing we all have in common, earlier on you guys both said the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. ironically enough, I have that tatted across my chest. So it's like all of that came full circle.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Why did you have that put across your chest? What was the inspiration?
Life.
Yeah.
Nah, for real. Ironically enough, my last year of grad school, we had to do clinical practice. So one of the things that we did is we had to sit in on an AA meeting and a substance abuse meeting. And at the beginning of every meeting, that's the mantra for the meeting. And then they break down these different principles within it. And then it's basically like confession. Like they all testifying about how long they've been clean, the things that they did while they weren't clean. And whenever they relapse, they talk about it as well. And it's like the fact that they're able to talk about it and hold each other accountable, it was like a healing process. And even they spoke about the importance of having a sponsor, someone that's there to help and support you when you need it the most. And I feel like that all ties into everything. So everything in life always comes full circle.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's definitely true.
I like to talk about the substance abuse. I saw an 11-year-old on Flatbush smoking.
11-year-old?
Yes.
How you know how old she was?
11?
Because they were like this tall and they always talking kindergarteners, the little
smoking weed?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
No way.
I think it's...
I did see a video or something like that before.
So what would you do differently if you could go back and tell that kid?
Well, as of right now, I made a song yesterday, Too Much Life. The hook goes like, I've been drinking too much life, I've been smoking too much life. And it's a vibe, but
Nancy Ray can just say no.
Pretty much just trying to say, don't overdo it. Like, you're 11, what you stressed out about? Like, why you need to be so relaxed? And
You still got a lot of years of life.
Yeah, like you should be strong.
It's that same thing, how like you gave flowers to mothers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's giving that knowledge or that gift to that kid is really important.
At that time, I was.
I mean, my grandfather grew up at like 7 in the farm. He was smoking and it wasn't a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They did. Now we kind of know that. Why do you need to do that at 11? You're saying it.
Yes.
So maybe he just needs your song a little bit more.
Maybe.
But she's kind of right. It's nothing new. It's just weird seeing it.
It's like out in the open now. And New York is kind of different. It wasn't legal, so it wasn't out in the open. But now.
That was different.
They are at McDonald's. Like.
It's one thing to see it. Yeah. It's almost like it's one thing to see it like in a rural or a country area, but to see it in the middle of the city where everybody's there.
So many people.
Like the other day, I seen a guy drive by smoking weed in broad daylight. A guy walking his dog smoking his weed. A guy picking up his kid from school smoking weed. So it's like now the kids are exposed to it and they growing up to it. And maybe that's how they picked it up from their parents.
Most likely. Usually it's a family thing, I guess, past, they see it.
I just went to New Orleans and I was shocked that there was a guy on the street and he had the varieties,
he was just selling on the corner. Like.
I mean, we don't do that right now.
But what I think is knowing that there's not enough like vaping. Like for me, I worry about these kids because I'm seeing these kids like with issues with their lungs and things like that. There's not enough information out there. Does that not scare them?
Yeah, they just think it's easy.
They not thinking that far ahead.
Nah.
I know.
They just
let me tell you, as you get older, things start to sag and drag.
You start to feel the effects. I only brought it up because both of you ladies, you have the book about the moon and Silky's talking about healing, and I think I wanted to hear your ladies' ideas on how to. The whole thing is about the home. How does the home keep the outside influences out? How do
I think you're totally right. I mean, it's all about who you are. It's not about how much substance you're exposed to or what the environment. If you're settled within yourself and you're grounded within yourself and you have a firm base in your personality, then the reason the risk of you becoming addictive is so much less, or it's much more easier to regulate even if you go over the top. Whereas if you're sort of traumatized or you're lacking some of the basics of who you are, you're not in touch with who you really are, then you get drawn into all sorts of habits that are difficult to get rid of because it's all in the outside.
I'll play off of that a little bit, and something that was important for me as a parent was championing my kids. I think we need to do that more in our house, is teaching them that they can make mistakes and say, what did you learn from it? Instead of like cracking down on them. And I think your house should be where you champion your kids, your wife, your brother, because sometimes you have multi-generational in some of these houses too. And I think it's really important to, say, hey mom, you got a nice shirt on today. It goes both ways, or hey mom, or honey, thanks for bringing home the bread tonight for dinner or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying we don't stop and show a lot more gratitude and championing each other's successes. We talk about everything that goes wrong, and maybe that could be a flip to inside your house.
But one thing that we've noticed is that when certain people see you win too much, they almost kind of wait for your downfall, or it's like they don't really like that you've been winning for so long. They feel a way about that.
I wrote a chapter in the book that I said create your own safety zone, and we had rules about our safety zone and what happened in that. And it was kind of a funny story, I will tell you, that we had no topic that was untouchable. And my daughter came home and learned some things at school, and she went to her brother because she said, I need a safety zone meeting. And as a parent, I'm sometimes not a part of those safety zone discussions. And her brother had the discussion about it, and they solved the issue. But she knows, or my kids knew, that this house had a safety zone, because you will fall. It's how you rise again after that fall.
Safety zone for what exactly?
Sorry?
Safety zone for what exactly?
Is that like to spill the beans?
Inside the house, I created a safety zone with rules so that my kids knew when they came home that everything in this house was pure discussion. That we talked about everything: drugs, sex, relationships, everything at the dinner table. And my parents didn't do that with me, but I did, because who better to find out knowledge from than the source, your parents, who trust you and want you to succeed.
I think that's a powerful movement.
If they know that home is where you can get answers and you can kind of let it all hang out, when they do fail, they'll shrug it off. And I've failed, my kids have failed, my husband's failed, all of us have failed. But if you know that support network at home is the stable base, that those are the ones that matter, and not the outside world, I think you're going to be stronger, more dynamic. You're able to kind of meet your dreams that you want, compared to, life isn't fair. We're used to that. It ain't fair.
From what I hear.
So if you have the people that you can depend on, and you can create that with your circle of influence, I think you're going to be stronger out there in the real word.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
Respect.
Put it right on the money.
I gotta say,
Silka, how many children do you have?
I have one daughter of 24, and she lives in Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, wow. When you were raising your daughter, did you have a safety spot in your house, or safety spot or safety place where you and your daughter could speak about the sensitive and difficult topics?
Yes, definitely we did that. I didn't have that name. I love the wording and the way you explain it, Juliana. I totally open to whenever she wanted to talk to me, because she's just the opposite to what I am in many ways. She just chose not to talk to me a lot, and she created her own safety zone within her friends network, and I had to accept that. But I think it's more about the attitude and the willingness that whenever non-judgment, the openness, the respect, the trust. And I think this is what it's about. It's about the willingness just to be and to be present. And that also includes the willingness if somebody doesn't want to open up.
So how is the conversation with you mothers, with your children about things like sex and drugs?
I was gonna say, we're guys. How do we do that when we got daughters?
Yo, bro.
Talk to them about it. I gave my husband, there was a Time magazine article out that said the guys that talk to their daughters more about sex tend to wait longer. They did a huge study on it. I don't know what it is, but
Nerves.
I don't know when my daughters chose what they wanted or when they wanted to, but let me tell you, I sure as heck talked to them about everything under the moon about it. It's supposed to feel good. It's supposed to be good, but with the right person, that's what you talk about.
Because then it could feel
I
bad.
don't ever shame them. It's their decision. It's not your decision. And but if they had questions about weird things, sure as heck I talked about them.
I gotta get comfortable.
But talk to your daughter about it.
Oh boy, I gotta.
You're more comfortable when she comes to you with a problem than before when you don't talk about those things. And we had a box of questions. There's a game that you can buy at Walmart or something. It had a box of questions, and I'll find out the name so I can tell you. But I opened it up, and it had one question every night at dinner, and it created conversations that my kids to this day are like, "Oh, Mom!" But I will tell you, my son told me in high school that they put all the boys in one room and all the girls in one room, and they put an undercover cop in there and shut the doors and slammed the doors and said, you can ask these cops any questions before you go out into the world so that you know. And the cop said, who here, if you got put in jail tonight, would call your parents? And my son said he looked around the room and he was the only one that raised his hand.
Wow.
That is a testament to what the safety zone does and the discussions. You have to encourage your kids to start having discussions. We rely on the news and we rely on others to do our
other people teaching.
If you want your kids to know something, tell them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
100%.
I love that, Julianne. But I also think it's not just about talking, it's about living your talk. It's about living that life and exposing yourself to diversity and modeling the behavior you want your children to have. Yeah, agreed. Sometimes it's more about doing what you want them to do rather than just telling them what to do.
Walk it like you talk it.
Walk it like I talk it.
Yeah. You talk.
Do you think it's hard to have these conversations with boys or with girls when it comes to children?
I had
Both.
twins.
Oh,
I had
wow.
twins.
you
I
had
had a boy and a girl, and they were the same age. And I wrote a book in there. I wrote a chapter in the book as well about when they had sex ed and they started talking about it. And the girls and the boys came out of this class with a brown paper bag. And my son said to my daughter, "If I'm to understand women, tell me what's in your bag." And my daughter was like, "No, I'm not going to tell you what's in my bag."
If I'm to understand women.
You know?
What was in the bag? A tampon?
Yeah, I mean, basically they put like deodorant and foot spray in his, and they put tampon and, I don't know, whatever, some other girl in there. So it was no big, magical miracle thing. But in order to understand the other sex, I think those conversations have to happen, and you have to let it out as natural as it can be. I mean, you're gonna laugh about it, but
at least you
I'd
spoke
rather
about
that
it.
than my kid have a problem and then come to me with I don't know,
Pregnancy?
sexual disease or something like that.
Or pregnancy?
Sorry.
I said, or pregnancy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had that conversation with my daughter, and I said, what if that happens? What are you gonna do?
I imagine my conversation would be different. If you come to me pregnant at 15, we're gonna have a problem.
What is the problem with her or with yourself?
With myself, everybody gonna have a problem.
Like what's gonna happen if you're pregnant at 15? What are you foregoing? You're foregoing
Grandma.
Grandma.
Grandma may say, I'm not going to take care of the child either.
Yeah.
Grandma wants to live her best life.
You know, a little dose of reality too is, how much does a
Healthy.
kid cost? Do you walk around the store and say, oh, look, diapers cost this much and formula costs this much, and you can't even get formula. So, and talk about those things.
What
Show
a
them when
time.
they're in the grocery store. That stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
Your kids are expensive.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
That's a fact.
That's what people
I
forget.
take advice from both of y'all. I'm listening. Y'all know what y'all talking about.
When you have your first child, you call us. We're ready for you.
I'm a month away.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Baby girl.
Definitely be prepared. There's always going to be something you're not prepared for, because no matter how much you think about it, you prepare, it's all about
Say no.
being able to be surprised.
That's what life is.
And every child is different, so there's no hard and fast rules, and they don't come with instructions.
Where's the
But you
manual?
guys still trying to write the book.
I mean, they're giving.
Right? There's a lot of books on that. On being a mother, raising children, and stuff like that. Do you think those books help or not really?
I think they're helpful. For me, it's more about working with oneself, because there comes a point when you have to just accept the other person for who they are, and they have their own experience, and as a mother you can just step back and stop worrying because it doesn't help the child. So what you can definitely do is look at yourself and see what resonates with that other person in you. And I'm very much about healing that inner wound, healing that inner child, knowing that that energy that resonates somehow also feeds back into the other person. I do believe we're not separate. So when something reflects in me and I work on it in me, in a way I'm helping the other person.
I learned that this year.
Yeah.
I could agree with that.
Yeah, that's
Julianne?
I think books give you ideas. Knowledge gives you power. So if you read books and you like something, I think you should try. I started when I had twins, I had two. So when you put one down and the other starts crying and you haven't slept, you're exhausted. And somebody recommended to me a book called Baby Wise, and I read it, and it kind of helped me put the kids on a time schedule.
Together.
And until you're in it,
that.
I mean, you're like a warrior trying to adapt. So I needed some advice. So sometimes books help you, sometimes podcasts help you, sometimes videos help you, sometimes music helps you. So I think use the resources that you need to succeed. And I think every kid is unique and golden.
Special.
And so for me, my advice is to kind of take what you need and adapt it to what works for you as a parent, because there is no perfect solution, no perfect formula, and it is about what's going on inside them and how they're responding. One of my twins they're total yin and yang, and so what works for one does not work for the other. And so I agree with my co-host here that is the truth, but you need to grab some knowledge somehow. And even like I'm telling you, music resonates with one child, whereas the other one, it's a no gain. She wants the facts, and so everybody's different. But I do think you need to collect knowledge to help.
What did they choose to
I agree
do?
with you, Juliana. It's pragmatic. It's doing what works, and also making it easy. The thing I would add to it is just, if you have somebody giving you advice and it doesn't resonate, it doesn't strike a bell, it's not going to work. Because children pick up on that. If you're doing something because somebody said, and you're not really behind it in word and deed, it's just not going to be effective. So I would read books, I would listen to podcasts and get as much advice as possible to be inspired. And then it's letting it sink in and see, well, what can I actually put into practice? And then trying it out.
Yeah.
I approve.
Yeah.
Mother approved.
Yeah. Take their advice.
But you're gonna be a great dad, regardless.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So
That's the
every
plan.
dad and every mom, you're given a gift, you know, and that child is somebody that has 50% of your DNA and 50% of your spouse's DNA or partner's DNA.
What a firecracker she's gonna be.
You know?
That's the scary part. Watching the mix up, like you had twins, right? So you got to watch the two different personalities
Man and
grow up. Did they fight a lot, or did they have a lot of differences? Were they like kids that scheme and came up with pranks or stuff? Or they were like,
No, I also wrote a chapter about this, and it was called Crisscross Applesauce, because I'm huge about communication. So wherever we were, if they were fighting, I made them get down, touch their knees, their noses together, and however long they were fighting is I would keep their noses together, and I would say, work it out. If you can't communicate, you'll never be able to talk to each other. My kids now are much older, and they talk, and they are quite close to each other. So they hated that period. I think one time I did it in the middle of a mall, and they were really worried that some of their friends were going to see them. I'm like, I don't care.
so it looked like they were kissing?
Nose kissing.
Kind of, yeah. And it's a boy and a girl, and talk about, when they're 11 to 13, they do not like it.
They got pride at that age.
Wow.
So may work for you, may not work for you. But my youngest child never did a crisscross applesauce, because she saw the two of them and she's like, oh no, I'm not going to do it. I had 3, so.
Was she different from the twins?
Sorry?
Was she different from the twins?
Totally. She always does things kind of one step ahead, because she learns from what the youngest always do. And she's like, well, I'm not going to do it. So she does everything a little bit easier, because she realizes where they kind of went a different path. So for example, she went to college and she was graduating. She was, a junior in college, and her brother and sister were stressed their senior year about what they were going to do after college. And she said, oh no. So she had a job by August of her senior year of college. And so she had a great last year of college and enjoyed every moment and every part of it, because she saw how much stress they had. So she was able to maneuver things a little bit differently. And I think, as I said, the crisscross applesauce method may not work for everybody, but with my twins, it nipped it in the bud really quickly.
Man, that's beautiful.
And what about you, Silka? How did you discipline your daughter?
I think I tried just about everything. It wasn't so much about disciplining, because she just, by her own nature, she was a good student. I never had to tell her to study, and she was quite responsible in many ways. But she had, as I said, she was very different. So she just had her own way of retreating and found her own friends, and then had her own life. And it was very much about me sort of using those moments when she was ready to talk and to be open, and enjoy those moments, and leaving her in her own process, and respecting that.
You raised her in Spain or Germany?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, that was in Mallorca, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so me, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and with daughters is different from having sons when it comes to discipline, because daddies don't really want to hit their daughters. You don't want to tap them in the hand, with my daughter, the older she gets, the more questions she asks about just the world around, and the more rambunctious she becomes, a little bit more sassy, so I see that in her. And when it comes to discipline, I realize with her, I've learned patience, to be very patient when dealing with her, and to be more delicate with dealing with her. So that's one thing that I could say having a daughter have taught me.
I agree with you, because the way I discipline my son compared to my daughter was a little bit different, especially my husband, the way he did it. But somebody told me early when my kids were young is their eyes are the windows to their soul. And so one thing that I adopted was to get down on their level and sit and talk to them, like why they were doing, say they were screaming or something, like sit down and stop what you're doing. And it takes time as a parent, but to sit down and say, why do you need to scream? What's going on? Are you upset? Is there something happening that, you know, you can't control and that you're outbursting or something? But I think getting on that level and having conversations with your kid and treating them like mini adults at 4 years old even, I think is healthy, because you're teaching them how to not stifle their anger or their joyfulness or their teasing or their whatever they're doing, but that you know that that behavior is not appropriate at that time. You know, some people say, oh, you have outside voice or you have an inside voice, you know, to scream or whatever. Well, sit down and talk to them. Say, is that an appropriate voice for inside or is it appropriate voice for outside? I think assume your kids understand. I mean, they're brighter than you think.
Yeah.
I think.
No, my kid's very smart.
And so to have those conversations with them, I think is very powerful because you're giving them choice.
So is the
I
mom?
have an idea about getting down to their level. I actually have parents. I make them do exercise of seeing the world through the eyes of a child, because they're in a very different space. Their brain is just, you know, becoming human in the first 7 years. So quite often when a child isn't disciplined, they're just in a different space in themselves and not relating to the environment. So they need time to come to themselves and then relate. So when you go into their world and you're at their level and you relate to them first before you correct, that's when they open up, and then the natural being of wanting to be social and wanting to be part of the group tends to come out.
Yeah, my daughter was born. Well, not really. She was born before quarantine, but she came into more of consciousness. I could say she started growing up during quarantine. Like those 2 years was when she grew up the fastest. But during that time, she was secluded from a lot of people because she was in the home most of the time. Like most of the kids stayed inside for a while, and now that, you know, she's outside with all the other little kids and interacting with them, and even at school, like I see the little personalities even when she interacts with them. And a lot of times when you sit back and you watch kids, like the personalities that they have are personalities that they carry into adulthood. It's just like they're just bigger versions of themselves. And sometimes like you could look at some adults and you can see the same characteristics and personalities of the kids in them, like the same things that they do, just on a bigger scale.
Agreed.
That's why, like,
I have a piece of advice for you is ignite that personality in that child, because that's what makes them uniquely them. It makes them whole, creative, and resourceful. However, they also need to be kind and compassionate towards others, and so teach that as well. Just say, when you're sassy, I understand that you're trying to
be playful,
get X or go to McDonald's or whatever that may be. But how does Joe feel when you steal his toy and you're sassy about it? How do you think he feels? Question them. Give them the authority to understand their behavior may not be appropriate, but she could be a Nobel Prize winner because of her sass. Why would you crush that?
No.
Look at, well, I don't want to bring it up, Cardi B. Look at Cardi B.
You guys,
There you go.
do you ladies know who Cardi B is?
I do.
She hip.
So what about you, Silka? Do you know who Cardi B is?
No.
Oh, she didn't make it to Spain. And
I think because the music is a big thing in my house, so we listen to everything in this house. So my daughter wants to go and sing up in Brooklyn, so I hope you guys hear her sing one day.
Oh.
So I have a lot of music, all genres in my house. And that's my party beat.
She up to date, you know this.
We got a whole
What type
family
of
here.
songs does she sing?
Well, right now she wants to be like Aretha Franklin, and she wants to
Soul.
be like kind of that kind of music.
Oh,
but,
soul singer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
we'll see. But she sings it all.
We need
Because
more
you
of
have-
that.
You have to learn how to sing it all. So, but she likes the kind of deep jazz soul music.
Soul.
So who knows?
Beautiful.
If I find out where she's singing, I'll let you guys know, and you can come and I'll.
Man, we could do a
make your
collab.
cup of tea.
Yes. We could do
I
a.
might buy you a drink.
Yeah.
Since,
Now you're talking my language.
yeah, we got the shot ritual. Yeah. Since both of you ladies are well traveled, and we've traveled some as well, ladies, tell us what's been your favorite place to live and to visit. We'll start with Silka.
I think there's a difference between living and visiting.
Yeah, big difference.
I love Japan. I love visiting Japan because it's such a beautiful country, but I'd never want to live there.
Why?
Just because I think as a foreigner it's quite hard. As a woman it's quite hard. The society is very traditional.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And I think deep inside they're not very foreigner friendly. But they're very polite, it's very clean, it's very
A wonderful
easy to move
view.
around, and people are incredibly helpful, and it feels really, really safe. So it's a great place for me to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. And I think I'm living in Spain is pretty good.
We found home.
Yeah. I love my native country. I love visiting it also, and visiting family.
I feel the
and
same way
friends.
about him.
The real hope is inside me. I realize there is no such thing as the perfect place other than, where I am feeling at home inside me. And if I'm good, I can be good anywhere. If I'm
Spiritual.
not, no place is good enough for me.
Yeah.
Kevin Gates was quoted as that saying, if I could pray there, I could stay there.
Mm.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
And Julie?
Julian? Is Julianne or Julie?
Alright.
I don't remember.
Julianne. It's
Julie.
Julianne.
Okay, I have it.
My favorite place to visit and go is Cape Town, South Africa. I
haven't made the
adore-
Africa trip yet.
Sorry?
I haven't made the Africa trip yet. I gotta.
Oh.
Ironically, none of us African Americans have been to Africa. Can you believe this? The outrage.
A really good friend of mine
That's
was
very
there,
crazy.
and she took our family for Christmas one year. So I said, if I don't have a tour guide like that, why would you not go? I mean, she showed me everything and did safari and everything
Ooh.
there, and it's an amazing country. My daughter, when we came back from South Africa, cried because she said that was the first time she felt one with the earth, because it's humbling to see a massive giraffe or a lion, and then at the same time you're off.
I want to go
on Table Mountain there in Cape Town. It's just gorgeous. So that would be my favorite place to visit, and the favorite place for me to live probably was Dublin, Ireland, because people are so kind there. I don't think I've met one
Stush.
how do we put it, ugly person. I don't know, they all, you come in and then they are always like, how you doing? They
Uppity.
want to know everything about you.
Because they're always drunk, right?
I talk a lot. So.
Because they're drunk.
The Irish.
Well, they said it's cold and it's dark in Ireland, and so, if you're not nice, then you need to leave.
You
Get out of
But
town.
I just,
It's a nice day to be drunk.
I lived there for about 2 years, and I don't know if there's kinder people on the planet. They're jolly and they're happy and they sing and they're joyous, and I want to filter that in a little bit more in my life.
Do they really drink a lot in Ireland, or is that a myth?
Is that a TV thing?
They say eating is cheating. When you go out and you drink, like, you know how we get appetizers and things like
Yeah.
that? They always say eating is cheating.
Oh, you're just supposed to drink first? That's
Yeah, you're supposed to just drink the beer. you
Oh
know?
wow.
Oh.
Don't put nothing in your belly but drinks.
So yeah, I think they do drink, but I don't know. Sometimes it's to stay warm. That's why the Guinness was invented, because it's like thick barley, I guess, beer, and it's thick dark beer to give you a little bit of meat on your bones.
I feel like speaking my
You want to hear something funny? In grad school, we had to do a biopsychosocial, and I did it on this family that was suffering from abuse. And ironically enough, the father had a drinking problem, and they tied it in with his heritage, and he tied it in with, oh, I'm Irish, so that's why I drink. So I entitled the paper "Defining Irish" because they was fighting in the home because the father was fighting with the son and abusing the son.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think all Irish. I don't think all Irish are drunks. I'm sure, yes, that they, like a nice drink. But I mean, I go to Germany and they have tons of beer. I go to Spain.
Irish people
and,
drink some of the most.
and all of that. You go to Japan and it's sake. So
You go to Brooklyn, they drinking Hennessy. Casamigos.
Exactly.
it's where you are. It's,
Every place has its own
but
drink.
Everybody
I
drinks and
never
fight.
felt that way. Sorry.
Yeah. No, so everybody drink and fight a lot, especially us, like in the club, like when people get drunk.
Too drunk.
They start fighting. It's like,
too much life, man.
You know what the Hennessy be doing to people.
yeah.
That's where kids come from.
So birth controls, playing bees, you name it.
So what about you guys to close out? What's been your most favorite
Place?
place to visit?
Mine's is Rome, man. They got everything I love. Pizza, pasta, suits, beer. It's just the vibe.
Rome.
And I went to the Coliseum, and it kind of was like, ironically, like sports, watching the field. And I'm like, man, this is where it started. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so Rome is my place.
Oh, my favorite place to visit, I'll say Spain.
Spain? I
Yeah.
haven't gone.
I wouldn't lie, Spain would be nice.
He got the beer, the walking
So-
down shirtless.
Yeah, of course. To live,
What about you?
I wouldn't mind living in Africa. I wouldn't lie.
In Africa?
Yeah, but like I'm talking about like an island of my own where I own the island.
Oh, he want his own space.
Yeah, I want to own my own island.
Everybody.
Africa is a great place to go on some land, So that's why I pick Africa.
I do want.
Who's the guy that's like Virgin Atlantic or whatever? I don't know. That's what I'm seeing you as, the African Virgin Atlantic guy that owns his own island.
Oh,
He's the
Richard
one that
Branson.
created the airlines and all that.
Richard Branson.
Yeah, I'm trying to own my own land,
Yeah.
And Africa's a good spot.
Hey, Akon
I mean, he created his own
he got his own spot
I might
right
as
there.
well create my own city in Africa, right?
Yeah.
If he can do it, I can do it.
Hey, what about you, man? You didn't tell us your spot.
For me, I like the places that's in the middle of nowhere. Like I like it. Like when I went to DR, like we stayed on like this compound resort at the end of nowhere. But I think the place that made me feel the most at peace was when I was living in the rainforest in Belize. I like that a lot because like I would wake up and there would be like lizards like on the walls, and then I would go outside and there'll be like birds flying through the house. Like it was cool. Like
That's interesting.
and then it was like a deck where you could sit, and then the animals would just come, like different
Running by?
animals. Yeah, like iguanas, parrots, and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
And then like the whole time I had a little golf cart, so I would drive through the rainforest in the golf cart. And the American dollar is doubled over there, so like I will give people $20 and they'll do
Ballin'.
anything and everything.
Like, only $20.
All of a sudden, I'm rich.
Yeah, they thought I was some famous rapper. I was like, all right.
I ain't gonna lie, Rome thought I was a basketball player. They was
Ironically enough, you got on the jersey, right?
I didn't have the
Yeah, but yeah, but to live if I wanted to live like the quiet, like really relaxed life, I'm talking about where like everybody's good, like my kid is grown, maybe married, you know, and I could just go off into the sunset like Thanos, like
I'm done.
peace. Like I don't want something like
You
that.
have a wooden home.
Yeah, like just peace, bro. Like, peace. Like peace to me is like I only get peace when I'm on vacation, when I'm able to just wake up at any time, go outside, get food, walk around barefoot, no one knows who I am. And you just drive around like that's peace, bro. Like I like that life. Like, but I want to be rich enough where I can switch it between, you know, like Batman. You know?
You'll have a buddy with a private island, and then you'll be going over to Rome to get your suits made.
The life, right?
Exactly.
Sounds like I'm in the right circle.
Circle of influence. So.
Exactly.
We got the blueprint.
All right, ladies, closing thoughts.
It was fun. We went from parenting techniques to, you know, what to do in a case inside your home to where we're going. So thank you for the journey. It was fun.
No problem.
And where can they find the book at?
Sorry?
Your book.
It's www.juliannebosch.com. JulianneBosch.com.
And why should they buy it?
Because I want you to be an intentional parent. I want you to strategize. You don't go into the grocery store without knowing what you're going to buy. Sometimes you're like, hey, I need milk, eggs, butter, whatever. Be an intentional parent. It's a workbook that asks you questions of how you want to help your kids navigate this world.
Men and women can buy it, or is it a mom
It's
thing?
on Amazon as well. How a Mother Took Her First Step on the Moon.
Oh,
So,
is it for fathers too?
I mean, it's
it
very
is.
The way
You
so.
laugh. I mean, there's stories in there, and also realize that there's no perfect way of being a parent.
There's no side
It's to help you to laugh and enjoy parenting, and it's not a chore. You're being given a gift.
Yeah.
And Julianne's gonna shoot us the link, so the link will be in the description.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Silka, all the way from Spain, born from Germany, raised in Ireland. No, in England, raised in England. She speaks German, Spanish, English, and she's learning Japanese. Oh man.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. I mean, we traveled all the way through all the different countries and realized that without knowing each other, without knowing what we're going to talk about, we had so much together. We had so much
in common.
We had fun together. We laughed together. We realized that we have similar views on addictions, on modeling, on gratitude, on giving back into life. So I think, if you don't want to go crazy, then become whole, become yourself, be yourself, and do whatever your heart is telling you to do.
Appreciate it.
You can find me, you can find me on crazyhealing.eu.
Crazyhealing.eu. That means she's in Europe. That means we international, baby.
That's where we gonna see you.
We done took off. See that? We done took off. We in Europe now, baby.
Exactly.
Last year we did an episode in Vegas. This year we might do one in Europe. We just might. You never know. We might pull up. You never know.
We might see you.
Alright. So we thank you all for joining us tonight. Shout to everybody that's been watching. Shout to everybody that has supported us to get this far, thus far. Shout to everybody that follows us on Instagram at The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Instagram, at The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Instagram, Facebook.com/The Real Word 7. That's The Real Word 7, the number 7, like Mike Vick. Or you can put in The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Facebook, The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Facebook, or just Google us. The Real Word Ministries Inc. Shout to all our sponsors, our corporate sponsors, our local sponsors, all of our supporters, and all the love that you supported us with. Shout to our guests, Julianne and Silka. Julianne all the way from Florida. Silka all the way from Spain. Shout to you guys. This is The Real Word. We in Brooklyn. We usually close out with prayers. Any of you ladies want to pray for us?
I'd love to.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
I hope that the three of you charge forward. I don't know if that you all have children, but I know two of you have children and about to have children, are blessed with the knowledge and power and love that a father can bring into this earth, a beautiful child that is going to, from the very beginning, do great things with passion and compassion and live a blessed life. Amen.
Amen. Appreciate it.
So we thank you for joining us. We thank you for watching. God bless and good night. Take care.
Much love.
It's the real word.